Provided in the event there is one vacancy in any office with a 3-year term, with an unexpired term of 364 days or less, may be filled by appointment of the mayor with approval of council. Provide that vacancies in any office with a 3-year term with an unexpired term of greater than 364 days must be filled by special election within 120 days of the vacancy. And all that's presented as a question that voters would then answer affirmatively yes or no. I don't, Mr. Chairman, I would suggest to you before that I may have some questions to prompt discussion, and maybe there's some revisions or changes that the commission may want to consider. For this one, I don't have anything specific. So we had talked about, again, going through all of these propositions before the commission's making the ultimate recommendations, but we can certainly have discussion now if there are any questions about this one.
We have one question here. Commissioner Mitchell?
I've got two actions, on E, said person vacates seats 360 shall serve his term of service. Does that constitute an election? The person does not serve if they have more than 360 without on their term. Is that what this saying?
So I'm going to go back here. Okay, is it the very last bullet there?
He says that a person vacates an office after serving a period that exceeds 360. It shall serve as term of service. What if that person leaves before that 360?
Yeah, so you're referencing the kind of the red line of what the provision in the charter would look like, and that was subsection E. It says that if someone vacates after serving 360 days. So that was discussed if someone were to take office and they were to vacate that office before they served a full year. The suggestion at our last conversation was that if they did it before, it would not be counted as a term against them before 360 days was served.
So we're talking about the person, not necessarily the election time.
That's correct.
Second slash full term.
It's my understanding that the intention. My understanding is the intention is this will be prospective. So once it's adopted into the charter, that's when we will begin to count moving forward. Only would be things after terms served after it was adopted in the charter would count towards this limit. That's my understanding.
Commissioner McCarty?
Yeah, that's fine as well. It was going to be prospective. It was hard to look backwards and execute the language, I think, for a go forward, and trying to keep it simple forward 15 years from now, not looking backwards. Some younger people here will be here 15 years from now.
That's right. Any other question? All right, move on to the next one. Section 3A, term limits.
Term limits for you, Mr. Chairman. The next one is to accomplish term limits. Specifically, this accomplishes or provides that a person can serve 3 terms as mayor, that a person can serve 3 terms as council member. That's what is to be accomplished by this proposition and the language that's proposed to be added to the charter. The way we drafted Proposition B for this purpose, we'd ask the question, shall Section 3A be added to Article 5 of the North Richland Hills Home Rule Charter to provide that a council member shall be limited to 3 terms as a council member, but may serve 3 additional terms as mayor, and to provide that the mayor shall be limited to 3 terms as mayor, but may serve 3 additional terms as council member. This would apply. So this one thing I want to note is being proposed as a separate proposition. There's the potential that a 3-year term proposition is turned down by the voters, and a term limit proposition is approved by the voters. So just one thing to have in the back of your mind is this your recommendation for term limits regardless of the change to the term? And if not, does that prompt or want you to consider any additional language here to how this is presented to the voters?
So technically, it could be 6 as mayor, 6 as council members, 12 years total, compared to if they change the term limits to be 18 total.
18 total, that's correct. 9 mayor, 9 council member with a 3-year term versus 6 mayor, 6 council member with a 2-year term.
Any questions? Guess not. Section 3, adding automatic resignation on becoming candidate for another office.
This is what we call the resign to run provision. The purpose of this proposition will be to add resign to run language to the charter to mirror requirements of section 65B, article 16 of the Texas Constitution. As proposed, proposition C would read, shall Article 5, Section 3 of the North Richland Hills Home Rule Charter be amended to provide that a mayor or council member with more than 1 year and 30 days remaining in the term shall automatically resign their office upon becoming a candidate for any office of profit or trust other than the office then held, and to provide for filling the vacancy in the manner consistent with filling of vacancies. So this language is taken directly from the Constitution. In particular, the timing of when this applies. So if you move to 3-year terms, the constitutional provision will apply. So if you meet the standards in the Constitution, the resign to run provision will apply whether or not it's in your charter. The recommendation from the commission previously was we would like to incorporate this in our charter. In doing so, I just want to call out that the Constitution is limited to only those circumstances where there's more than 1 year and 30 days remaining in the term at the time that you become a candidate for the office. Right? And so one question that I think would be worth considering is the commission and ultimately the council, do we want that time limitation to apply, or we want resign to run to always apply to any time someone on the council decides to run for another office of profit or trust, even if it happens to come up that they don't become a candidate for that office until there's less than 1 year and 30 days remaining in their term.
Commissioner McCarty?
So, making sure I have it straight here. So, getting the very first A and thinking about B and C. So B passes and C passes, and you're at 6 and 6. And then this one is, even if, because I remember you saying that the state law overrides, as soon as you go to the 3-year, that it automatically is resigned to run as part of this vision. But this would be here, so if it didn't, A didn't pass, that C would still be in place, and you would have to do the resign to run then as well.
That's correct.
Okay, so, and I think that is what we should do.
So I think now there are 2 questions, right? That's a good point. So one is, do you want resign to run regardless, whether you go to 3-year terms or stay at 2? That's the one question. The second being, do you want to use this include this 1 year, 30-day limitation? Or do you want to strip that so that there's no limit timeliness of when it applies to you? Are y'all seeing the distinction there? Or do we want clear?
Commissioner Blake?
So as soon as you become a candidate for another office, that's when you have to resign your position. So this would allow, say, next year Ricky wanted to run for mayor, but that's less than 1 year, 30 days. He would have to resign from council to do that, because he would have to announce candidacy in January, and that's only like, if he would have,
That's right.
his term. Okay.
That's correct.
But I don't know, you guys and ladies, I feel like maybe it should be less time, because, to keep someone from doing that, I didn't become mayor, but I'm still gonna hang around kind of thing. If you wanna do something, do something. You know what I mean? What are y'all's feelings on that?
Any comments, questions?
Well, and if I read this correctly, you're saying if the term left on their term of service is 1 year, 30 days more, then it's an automatic resignation. If it's under 1 year, it's not an automatic resignation. Correct?
Correct.
So if, like, my term comes up next month, and January, I decided to run for a different office or wherever. I can stay on council until my remaining time, correct? Even if we're on 3-year terms now.
Under this provision, that's correct. As drafted, that's correct.
So, now, with that being said, my other question on that, pull it back up here, erase myself. If in January I decide I want to run for county commissioner, and I'm still on city council, so I got the remaining time period, the filing date for county commissioner is before the city filing date. And I had filed to run for county commissioner, and I still filed to run for city council on filing date. Because I haven't won the primary.
No, I don't believe that would be possible. Once you've filed to run in the other, as county commissioner, I don't believe you'd be able to file to run in the same election for city council position.
I think the normal, realistic thing would be you file to run something in November, you're up the following May. If you file to run for another spot in November, you only have 7 months left, technically you could keep your position until you're done in May. That'd probably be the most realistic thing, unless something pops up a year and a half, this would affect you if we have a 3-year term, not a 2-year term really.
But anything less than a year, 30 days, you stay.
You stay on, yeah.
That's what I'm understanding, correct?
That's correct.
So is there any concerns about the year and 30 days, or should we limit it smaller, or are they okay with that? Commissioner McCarthy.
I think that anytime you file a run for something else, that you can just resign the run. I don't think you should stick around at another one. One is that you're not gonna focus on the one you're doing. You obviously don't wanna do the one you're in anymore. You want to go do something else. So I don't see the point in any time limit. I just say when you resign the run. When you decide to be a candidate for something else, you should resign to go elsewhere. And that's pretty much how it works on any other board or council around here.
So with that, let's say there's 6 months left, this council board wants somebody to serve that term out.
That's what the wording says.
Until election day.
The wording he showed us before says, and the current wording we have says that.
So if once a month, are we leaving until that day? Is
Our,
that our choice?
our rules tell us either one.
So it would be a choice.
Commissioner Blake?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. McCarty, because I would hate for someone to announce candidacy, and win an election in November, and then their focus not be here any longer. They're on to something else, and we lose a council member or a mayor to, whatever it is else they're doing. And they're not really, they're serving 2 things, and their interests may or may not align, kind of thing.
So it would be best to strike the amount of time off in this section?
If what we just heard from Commissioner McCarty, Commissioner Blank is the desire of the commission as a whole, I'd recommend we strike the language so that it reads, provided a mayor or council member shall automatically resign their office. So we would strike with more than 1 year and 30 days remaining in the term. So more council members shall automatically resign their office upon becoming a candidate. And there's no time limitation.
Think we should vote on that? When we vote on this, to strike to remove the time on here, you put that on the screen, or just could do it by simple handwriting?
So it won't show up, the motion won't show up on the screen, but it will show up in the minutes as proposed. And I do recommend, I don't know what the commission's thoughts are on all these items before that. If you were gonna come back after that presentation from Mr. Anderley, and come back and vote on each individual item, or if you were gonna do it in one swoop. That it would be less messy, if you will, if you did a motion for each of these items.
That was the idea. And so that's why we're going through each one, and then this seems to be the only one we want to change currently. So if everybody I need a motion on that. Is there a motion to?
Well, before we do that, let me clarify point number 2, just made about, if the first doesn't pass, the second 2-year terms still instead of 3-year terms, right?
Correct. It's up to the people.
We don't read that like that, or we will change it where one fails and both fail.
I would say that it depends on each individual if it passes and the other one if one fails, the other one passes, then we keep it. So at this point, it's either 2 years or 3-year terms. If one, yeah. So. Commissioner Burke?
Just to make sure I understand, if you're a council member, like you would run for mayor, that loser, you resign, if there's no term limit, or no time limit, would you resign your position to announce running for mayor?
According to this right here, then yes.
Okay.
Because technically, it would make sense because you're 100% now campaigning.
Yeah, no, I'm just making sure,
Yeah.
it's not any office like state senator or something like that. If you're running for just mayor of this city, you're a council member, you're resigning that
Yeah,
position.
you would
upon
resign.
announcing that.
And by the way, when you go 3-year term, that goes for every single position in the state of Texas by law, if you're at a 3-year. The only reason we're not is if we're at a 2-year.
So this would be in place if the first section fails. And we're still at 2, and this would still be in place regardless. If number 1 passes, then it's automatically, this will be in place regardless if this passes.
You can't change that.
Okay, correct.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could add just one clarification, the only difference being state law provision has that 1-year, 30-day limitation.
Right.
And you all are discussing today potentially taking that out, so there's no time limitation on when it applies. Correct.
Okay, extra comment, which is probably myself, not real right, but just to clarify, someone else might miss it. If you're running for re-election, you got to stop for that spot 2 more years to have that apply.
This is only for if you run for a different position. So if you're running for the same spot,
Well, if you're running for election, which most likely would be a different spot, but do we need to specify a different spot? Not for
if someone, for example, I'm running for place 2, and then I announce I'm running for re-election for place 2, I don't have to resign.
That's correct. Other office.
Because this thing states either office or do you need to put language in there so people, no one's confused saying no, just because he announced for re-election, he doesn't step down for 5 months just to come right back.
That's correct. So it's an office of profit or trust other than the office that held.
I don't know, so.
There you go. Thank you.
Correct.
To clarify one more thing, so if we go to 3-year terms, it will be 1 year and 30 days, right? Because that's by state law.
We'll automatically meet the state law, but we're changing.
Can we change? We can change, we don't have to decide by state law if we're a 3-year term versus.
So you can adopt a different requirement in your charter as long as you can comply with both at the same time. And by adopting a more stringent requirement in your charter, you can enforce that on top of the state law.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add one clarification. Commissioner Mitchell brought up the idea of whether or not we have to appoint someone. If someone signs up to run for another office, they resign automatically under the law. Do we have to appoint someone or not? One thing just to think about that procedural process is the way the holdover provision works under state law is you would remain in your office until your successor takes their position. And so that would, I think that's just going to influence your decision on how you act. Likely you would want to take action to appoint someone to go ahead and finalize out and make that transition final.
So technically, even though you resign, you're still on until your successor comes.
Correct.
Very good. Any other questions? I think we should do a vote on if we would like to remove, I need a motion, if we need to remove the time on here, or if you want to keep the time on here.
I would make a motion that we remove the time restraint and make it an automatically resign at the time of announcing a candidate.
Motion made by Commissioner Blake.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Roberts. I was telling you, Ron's the entire time. Any discussion? There you go.
Mr. Chairman, can I just clarify that the motion is to approve for the commission to approve the language here with the amendment that's described in the motion. Is that correct? Correct.
Any discussion? If not, then please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Alicia, I just was gonna clarify, so you're saying, what you're saying, y'all will need to vote, I think, on
Yeah.
every motion,
No, yeah.
on every, okay.
Yeah. This
I
one's
just
just.
want you to change, okay.
Yeah, well, we're gonna come right back to all these, yeah. But right now, while we're on this, change that. All right, section 7.1, judges municipal court. Travelers.
So the next proposition is to amend the language in the provision related to the term for the municipal court judge. The impact of this will be to strike the requirement that the term of the municipal court judge coincide with the term of the mayor. As proposed, Proposition D reads, shall Article 6, Section 7.1 of the North Richland Hills Home Rule Charter be amended to strike the requirement that the term of the municipal court judge coincide with the term of the mayor. If you recall, Commission, this was a recommended change because if we move to 3-year terms for the mayor and the council, we are not currently recommending a change of the municipal court judge's term to 3 years. It would remain at 2 years, which would then make it impossible for the term of the municipal court judge to coincide with, to run concurrently with that of the mayor. So this was to resolve that inconsistency. This is a change that could occur with or without the change of the 3-year term. We could take out this language that says it has to coincide with the term of the mayor, even if we say a 2-year term. So that's the reason it's proposed as a separate proposition here, because it doesn't really impact the term itself of the judge. It does create, I guess, some confusion if they vote this down. Voters vote this down so that it's still, your charter still says the term should be concurrent with that of the mayor, and the mayor's term is now 3 years. There's just some inconsistency. I think that's a pretty easy one to resolve, because it's an impossibility. We have the term of 3 years, but there is that reality. Because there's that connection, I think it's possible to consider this being combined with Proposition A. We have prepared 5 different propositions on this last one with regard to the Planning and Zoning Commission. We'll have maybe a similar conversation there as well. We want to propose them separately because one reality is when you think about your ballot propositions, you can combine what's necessary to be combined, but you should have separate propositions to vote on when possible. The more you put together, the more possibility for a challenge to that election. Might invalidate what you just tried to accomplish with your voters and for your voters. But I think this one, there is an inconsistency that could be created if this one is voted in a different way from your Proposition A. So I think it could be proper to consider combining it if you so choose. With that.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Our current judge is,
Turn my phone.
our current judge is appointed, correct? Correct. And are we going to add that information he gives as well? Maybe there's some of them that go out to these different cities and run for municipal judge or different positions out there as well as that. We should suggest that we take them off the board and run for another office.
Mr. Harvey, did you answer that one?
So like you said, our municipal court judge is appointed, not elected. So that provision applies to elected office, as far as the resign
The
run.
position does, mine said it doesn't. As the mayor was saying earlier, we strike it down because you got another job. So are we gonna?
Yeah, so all the things, I mean, that's
Take it out, take the person.
that's a decision that y'all can make if you would like. But I'll just say that currently in most cities, the municipal court judges are appointed and they serve in a part-time role. And several of them serve as municipal court judges for different city municipal courts. So that happens regularly now. So, but whether y'all want to discuss changing it here, that's completely up to you.
So the question is, if the municipal judge that we appoint decides he wants to run for a judge in Tarrant County somewhere, and we let him go, that would be, I would assume, that would just be up to the council. If we want to just let him, like, in essence, we're firing him if that's what he wants to do.
So it would be a proper consideration to put in the charter. Otherwise, you've got that your municipal court judge would serve for a term of 2 years. And there's no provision that would say that taking on another elected office would prohibit them from continuing to serve that role. And the Constitution is not going to apply to the term of a municipal court judge, I don't believe. So it would be proper to consider if that's a conflict you're concerned about, establishing it in your charter so that you can enforce it.
I think here's the problem with that, Russ, is that would be, it's equivalent for you saying that you have to quit being an insurance agent to be a city council. You're paid for one, you're not for the other. So he's out of his town, he decides to run for city council back there, and he can still be a judge, and we're gonna tell him, no, you can't run for city council. We're trading on his rights at that point to say, you can't do that because you have to give up your job in order to be a city council member. And I don't know that that's fair.
Yes and no.
No, that's not it.
Well, he's county, judge, municipal, he decides he's gonna be not a judge. He's in the same industry, same business, same everything. Now his distraction is, I want to be a judge, not a local.
Understandable.
I think that should stay to, not be the council decision. If he's gonna go anything higher,
We can't do anything with it once we're appointed.
he's appointed, we can do something with him. We've given him the power to be there. If he decides to take something higher up, he'll be mental suicide for him to want to stick around and be here and be a big judge in Tarrant County or something of that nature. It'll be a totally different job for him at that point.
Well, I'm just throwing out the idea that they need to look at it the same way for the council.
I think we are the employer, and so if that becomes a thing, for example, he wants to be a run for a job, another judge somewhere in Tarrant County, I think the process happens. Usually municipal judges think that this is the job, this is what they do, and so I think there's something to cross when we get there. Anybody else? Commissioner Blake.
I agree with that, but to the original discussion was, what kind of problem could it really cause us if Proposition A passes, but then this doesn't? So like, then what kind of problem could someone cause for us? Like, how seriously do we worry about combining these?
I don't believe it would be a serious problem. It would be an inconsistency in your charter, that your mayor would serve a 3-year term, and you would have a provision that then says your municipal court judge would serve a 2-year term that coincides with the term of the mayor.
Okay. So it's something that if this happens and some pass, some fail, then next opportunity, 2 or 3 years, whatever it is, we could go in and clean up the charter and make things make sense.
You can definitely do that. That would be your opportunity to clean it up and make it make sense. And in the meantime, I believe that the language that says that the term of the municipal court judge coincides with the mayor would just be unenforceable. That could be a reality.
Commissioner McCarty?
Yeah, I think that's, I look at it and say, if at which time that we don't like the job, or the municipal court judge is not doing the job, we can unappoint them.
Okay, well, I misunderstood. Yeah, I misunderstood what the attorney was saying. I thought once he's done for 2 years, he's done for 2 years.
He is, but he's not doing his job, we can unappoint him.
Commissioner Park?
So, because these do kind of roll off one another, what avenue do we have to go to the public and say, hey, it's a good idea to pass all of these, maybe not pass one of them? I know like when the school board does a bond, they promote the bond.
Well, as far as the city goes and any expenditure of city funds, we can't advocate one way or another for any of these propositions. We can educate, but we wouldn't be able, from the city's messaging, say, you need to pass all these, if you're gonna pass them, we can't say that. So usually what happens is y'all set up a separate committee, kind of like a PAC, to advocate one way or another, yes.
But as a city council person, we can't promote it.
Individually, yes, you just can't spend city funds.
But as a city council, you
can't.
can't.
You don't
lose your rights,
Right.
I'm sorry.
You don't lose your free speech.
So, Councilman, I can say.
Yeah.
Would we anticipate, doing a pack or some sort of a way to promote this? I mean, I can see this getting kind of bogged down with people and how
So that probably needs to be a separate discussion after the ballot propositions and the election is called, then you all can have a separate outside group that
Yeah, that's a political
Discuss
thing for outside of the
Yes.
at a coffee shop.
would,
Any other comments, questions, concerns? All right. Let's move to next and last, planning, building, regulation, section 1, planning and zoning commission. Trent.
All right, Commission, again, this one is, it's not quite as simple as a cleanup as the municipal court judge term issue, but it's going to impact the Planning and Zoning Commission term. It will accomplish providing a 3-year term for Planning and Zoning Commission members, which is intended to be consistent with the council and the mayor's 3-year term, and provide that appointment and duration of the terms coincide with the terms of council members. Currently, the Planning and Zoning Commission is the only commission that's established, and the term is established through the charter. That's why we're including this amendment. Currently, their terms run concurrently with the council member, and then the procedure would be the council member selects or nominates someone then to step into that a position on the commission in that way. I think the goal is to allow that to continue. If the council goes to 3-year terms, then we want to make that clear in the charter that P and Z makes that transition as well. And then we can continue with the same appointment process and procedures there. Proposition language for that purpose is presented, Proposition E. Shall Article 14, Section 1 of the North Richland Hills Home Rule Charter be amended to provide that Planning and Zoning Commission members shall serve terms of 3 years and provide that the appointment and duration of members' terms shall coincide with the terms of council members. I think it's also worth considering if this should be combined with Proposition A. I suppose we could change to a 3-year term. If this was adopted and A was not, we would have council members for 3 years, Planning and Zoning Commission members for 3 years. And we would have the same, awkward language that talks about it being serving a term that's concurrent with council members' terms when the timings would not line up. So it could create an issue if this is approved and the 3-year term is not. So it could make sense to combine. I'd like to,
No, keep up.
there's one alternative that I think it may be worth considering. Going in this direction, possibly putting this in the Proposition A accomplishes this purpose. One reality I wanted to call to your attention is that this is the only board or commission where this kind of detail is in the charter. An alternative could be we use this opportunity to amend this provision to strip out some of the language related to the P and Z that's not, that really doesn't have to be in the charter. And we could then handle things like the terms of the P and Z members, when they're appointed, et cetera, through our ordinance like we do for every other board and commission within the city. That's just something for consideration if you want to bite on it. Otherwise, you can discuss the proposition as presented.
Commissioner McCarty?
So my thought was that. Or can we just not say 3 years and it just coincides with the council terms?
Yeah.
That was my question too.
That way if it doesn't pass, then it's still the 2 years. And if it does pass, then it's the same as the terms.
So then this amendment would be to strip out the 2-year term language, so that it just says that it serves for a term that coincides with the council member.
Yeah.
That's clear. Can be accomplished. Commissioner Blake?
Why talk about the P and Z commission in our charter at all, really, and not any others? What's the special need there?
I don't know the history to know what prompted that to be included in your charter. My guess would be, just from a legal standpoint, it's something that's required a lot of times for accomplishing your subdivision and planning and zoning regulation. And for that reason, it was probably seen as important enough to throw in the charter. It's my guess, just from a legal standpoint.
And some of the additional certification training required for P and Z, just like it is for council, and it's not for everybody else.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct. In a lot of municipalities, they have quasi-judicial powers. Here in Richland, it's a little bit different, but still they're a recommending advisory board to the city council. But to Bradley's point, it has a lot to do with state law and being the first regulation is state law actually has information about your P&Z members. And it's going to be held for your general law cities and general law A, general law B cities. But it's good to have it, and that's the reason why they had it from originally way back in the day. Because our city charter has not been amended like it should be. We're considering just one or two amendments through the years. So it's been around for a long time since the original city charter was adopted.
Commissioner Mitchell?
I like what Commissioner Carter was saying about this thing that three-year out period. I also like what you said, that we just eliminate the whole package, throw it in everything else, but here and now we can't. I mean, everything else is about, is on the things that we're elected and not elected. So whatever that elected office, automatic. There's no way to blend that into that center package.
Well, I think, Commissioner, I think maybe just a little bit different. What I heard and understand is I think there's just some considerations that might justify the P and Z being included in the charter, but certainly there's not a legal requirement that it has to be there. So, even though it could be justified if you want.
So what's everybody's thoughts on removing the 3 years and just saying it coincides with the, I like that. Does anybody make a motion to change said wording?
I would make a motion that we accept Proposition E without the, well, do we want to change it or do we want to like amend it to just change the existing one to remove the years?
Yeah, that's it.
That's a question for us.
Correct, and what I'm hearing is that the commission is suggesting that we amend it to remove the years for the term, and then to specify that the term would coincide with the terms of council.
That's what I move. I move that we accept Proposition E, removing the verbiage related to years, and just leave that it coincides with the terms of council members.
Commissioner Blake makes a motion,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner McCarty. Any discussion? All right, call for the question.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, so that's all of them that we just went through. Is there any comments, questions, concerns about? We're gonna go back. I'm just asking, this is the time now to, any comments or anything about any of this, or any questions, or anything you wanna pick up? Everybody looks good to go, so I think we go through each section, we vote to approve, and once we approve, that'll be on the ballot, is that correct? Alright. So I think we vote for first section, Article 5, City Council Section 3, date of election, candidates to run for places basically designated. Section 3A, term limits, Section 7, vacancies, as shown. We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, can I jump in before we take the motion there?
Yes.
I think still outstanding is the municipal court judge provision. No, I know we're looking at, did we take action on the municipal court judge?
No.
I didn't think so.
I think we left it as is, right?
We still have to vote on C2, C3, and C5.
Okay, good, that was my recollection, and I think it was outstanding, the question of do we want to combine that municipal court judge issue into Proposition A? Do we want to maybe take up that question one more time before we take action on Proposition A?
Yes. So are you saying, if anybody wants to combine the judges with the first section? Correct. With the term limits with us?
Can you put that verbiage back on the screen for us?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner McCarty?
I gotta tell you, with the proposition out there, it's already gonna be so long.
I agree.
That everyone's gonna beat us to death over it. It's gonna say, you made so hard to get through, and I don't want, because I've done the same thing, so, I think adding words to a proposition makes it just difficult. Because sometimes you lose focus on by the time you get to the end, what exactly am I voting on? You know, what's the important kernel that I'm voting on? You know what I mean? So, I'm going caution to the wind to say, you know, just pray that they vote that.
And I think we talked about even if one does and the other doesn't, it causes an impossibility that's not gonna cause a real problem for us, we can go back and fix it later if that happens. If I remember our conversation.
So is everybody okay leaving it, the judges separate from the first section talking about the term limits for city council? Yes? Yes, then yes, we're gonna keep it separate then.
Chairman Rodriguez, if I could, ask the commissioners to please read the language if there are gonna be no changes to the proposed recommended language, to read it how it shows on your iPad in the recommendation, please.
Under action, does it go to the memorandum? Where's it down there also?
It's actually in your first item, you'll put it as, it's actually captioned, and you have the action.
Oh, then make a motion. Make a motion to approve ballot proposition to amend Article 6, Section 7.1 of the Corporation on Charter, strike the requirement of the term of municipal judge for salary.
Well, we're on the first section right now. So this is C2. And I believe, Commissioner Blake make the motion?
No, I was.
Oh, you were just talking about it, okay, good. All right, so starting fresh again, for the first section, section C2, we have a motion.
I'll make the motion. Elise, if you want me to read the whole thing under action items?
Yes, please.
Okay, got it. So I make a motion that we approve ballot proposition to amend Article 5, Sections 3 and 7 of the Northwest Hills Home Rule Charter, and Section 3A be added to provide that the mayor and the council members shall be elected for 3-year terms, to provide that the mayor and council members must be elected by majority vote, to provide for the transition to 3-year terms by establishing an election schedule, to provide that 730 days served constitutes a 3-year term, to provide that a person who vacates their office after serving 360 days has served a term, to provide that in the event there is one vacancy in any office with a 3-year term with an unexpired term of 364 days or less may be filled by appointment of the mayor with the approval of council, to provide that vacancies in any office with a 3-year term with an unexpired term of greater than 364 days must be filled by special election within 120 days of the vacancy.
Thank you, Commissioner Parks. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Mitchell. We have discussion? All right, call the question.
I make a motion, Andy Roberts reads all the long motions. That's what.
Yeah, awesome. C3 for Article 5, City Council, Section 3A, term limits. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion. Approve ballot proposition to add section 3A to Article 5 of the North Richland Hills Home Rules Charter to provide that a council member shall be limited to 3 terms as a council member, but may serve 3 additional terms as mayor, to provide that the mayor shall be limited to 3 terms as mayor, but may serve 3 additional terms as council member.
Thank you, Commissioner Roberts. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion?
So one quick question, can you run for mayor and then run for city council?
Yes, you may.
I wish you would. I'll say that already, it's Ricky.
I'm already running for mayor. More discussion? Let me call the question.
motion passes unanimously.
Sounds great.
I hear four council members rather than kitchen.
Section C4, article, Ballot to amend Article 5, City Council Section 3, adding automatic resignation of becoming a candidate for another office. Do I have a motion?
Take a motion.
Just to sure we don't- I think we already took action on that.
Yes.
I think I would want back.
For the term limits? For the judge municipal?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it's guy involved in the highlighted blue. C5, consider ballot proposition to amend Article 6, Municipal Court, Section 7-1, Judge Municipal Court. Do I have a motion?
A motion to approve ballot proposition to amend Article 6, Section 7, of the municipal charter to strike the requirement that the term of the municipal court judge coincide with the term of the mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Delaney. Have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blake. Do we have a discussion? No discussion. Call the question.
The motion is unanimous.
All right, section C6, consider ballot proposition to amend Article 14, Planning and Building Regulations, Section 1, Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I have a motion? What? How do we do this?
We did them when we modified them.
No, we have to re-vote on that.
Nope. We don't. We got the whole thing. We're done.
Wow.
Mr. Chairman, we did it, sir.
Love that, thank you. Well, then that's it. Thank you guys for your hard work on this commission.
Did we get all of them?
Yeah, let's verify this. We got all of them. I feel like we only voted for to change the wording, now we have to still vote
No,
on
no,
it.
you got it, you made the motion in a second, because I got it recorded on my end over here.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Mr. Chairman, I think there's an item left to talk about future meetings that with the revisions made this afternoon, unless we want to handle it a different way, I think I recommend we come back one more time just to make sure we have everything final before we approve what gets sent up to council.
So that's what we just did, just for cancel.
I prefer you to be able to see the exact language that is going to be referred with the revisions that were suggested, but if you think we have what we need, we can.
Does everybody want to come back one more time to verify 100%?
I love when lawyers tell us what we should do. Because it makes an easy choice for me. Let's just do that.
I think you probably advise.
All right.
My question is why we asked.
If you guys want to read it one more time, let's make the next commission meeting on June 9th.
Yes.
June 9th. Our next and possibly last commission meeting. All right. Adjournment, the Charter Review Commission meeting is adjourned at 4:53.